You're listening to Health Professional Radio with Wayne Bucklar. My guest today, joining me on the phone from Australia, is Jonathan Kingsley. Jonathan's the Sales and Marketing Manager of the Brainary, and he's here to tell us what the Brainary is and what they do. Jonathan, welcome to Health Professional Radio.
Thanks, Wayne.
Now, it's not a corporate name that immediately sort of tells me what it is you do or where you do it. Can you fill us in on what your business and organisation does and where you do it, the geographical footprint?
Certainly. So the Brainary is a company that's about 15 years old, and we're an Australian and New Zealand supplier of educational resources and technology, and we also cover the health sector as well. We're based in Geelong, Victoria, just out of Melbourne, but we operate Australia-wide, New Zealand-wide, and also into Singapore as well.
Oh, well, that's good because we've got listeners in Singapore and in New Zealand and in Australia, so that's a perfect match.
Fantastic.
Now, you say you work in the health sector. What is it that you provide?
So we've got a range of technology. Much of it is assistive technology, as well as a few pieces that are really useful in rehab and helping children on the autism spectrum. So we are the Australian and New Zealand distributor for the NAO humanoid robot. So it's spelled NAO, but pronounced NAO. And the NAO robot's a French humanoid robot that's been designed for research and education. But we've found that it's got a lot of wonderful applications for the health sector as well. Would you like me to go into more depth on NAO? Yeah,
it's a bit intriguing. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, so I might start by telling you about one of our most recent projects. We recently won a grant from the Transport Accident Commission based in Victoria. The grant's around improving rehabilitation services to people who have been in motor accidents and have acquired brain injuries and or spinal cord injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we've got a trial site at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, and we partnered with Swinburne University of Technology to actually help us program the robot based on the rehabilitation requirements of physios and occupational therapists at the hospital.
Give us a picture of this robot physically. You say it's humanoid?
It is, yeah. So humanoid as in it's got two legs, it's got arms, a head, and it's got joints that move in a way that very much represents humans.
Mm-hmm.
It's got 25 degrees of freedom, which is quite a lot for a robot, and enough to really kind of mirror the degrees of freedom that our human bodies have. I think we have about 1,000 degrees in our human bodies, but this robot can do most of the gross motor skills that we can.
Oh, intriguing.
Yeah, so what we actually have it doing in the hospital is with one particular client, the robot has been programmed to teach a child how to do bridges. So the robot will lie down on its back and the child will lie next to it on an exercise mat. And the robot will give verbal instructions and then demonstrate the exercise for the child to complete with it.
Oh, I hadn't thought of a robot as an instructor in that field.
Yeah, and it's the anecdotal results we've had so far have been tremendous.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so I suppose in that space as well, we've also got some specialist software that was actually developed at a hospital in Calgary, in Canada, based around specific medical procedures as well. So we've actually had the robot programmed, and we work with a company. Their software is called MEDI, so MEDI, and basically the robot gets programmed to walk children through certain medical procedures that they're having. So one example, for example, is that the robot will explain to a child what happens when they have a vaccination or when they're getting a blood test. And the robot will actually stay with the child when they're having the procedure and coach them through it.
No, and do you have any, at least anecdotal evidence of how children respond to a robot doing that?
Yeah, so there's actually been a few research papers written on this application. So it's a bit further down the track than our Royal Children's Hospital trial in Melbourne. So there is quite a bit of evidence. And I think, I might not be quite right here, but I think there's between a 50 to 80% reduction in pain associated with these procedures when the child's got the robot as opposed to without the robot.
Oh, extraordinary result.
Yeah. So that's really cutting edge. And these kind of projects, as far as we're aware, are world first.
Yes, I haven't heard of them before. And Jonathan, beyond the robot, are there other health interventions that you make?
So we don't actually make these products. What we do is work with companies to basically partner up, such as partnering with Swinburne University, so connecting the hardware with the software developers. But we do distribute a range of technology that we import from various countries. So we work with a product called Tapit, which is TAPIT, so, as in tapping something. And it's actually a disability-specific learning station that's been designed by a team of occupational therapists, physios in the States, to make what was traditionally an interactive whiteboard that would be pretty cumbersome and stuck on the wall much more accessible for students with physical disabilities.
Right.
And it's really targeted around kids with cerebral palsy and other physical conditions. And we've also found that it's got some really great uses in rehabilitation too.
Yes, I can imagine it would.
Yeah. So it's fully motorised and adjusts in terms of height and tilt to accommodate just about any child. And it's also built with medical-grade locking caster wheels so that it can be moved around easily when it's in a hospital setting, in a ward. They're antimicrobial as well, so it meets all of those hospital specifications. And
are there other products, Jonathan?
Yes, so we also work with iTech, which is a range of eye tracking equipment that basically allows people with upper-level spinal cord injuries to control computers.
Okay. Is that, that's the sort of thing we see often on television, but it's commercial grade and accessible right now?
It is, yeah. So it's really quite futuristic technology, but it's available right now, and we're supplying them to a lot of schools and health providers already.
You're listening to Health Professional Radio, and my guest is Jonathan Kingsley, Sales and Marketing Manager of the Brainary, and we've been talking about some of their products and services, and some of them, I have to say, sound like the future, but you can acquire them right here and now. Jonathan, a lot of our audience are clinicians. About 95% of our audience are clinicians of one kind or another, often in acute care and in aged care. Is there a message you'd like them to hear today as a result of you being with us on Health Professional Radio?
Yeah, I suppose I'd just like to make them aware of what is possible, and with pieces of technology like the NAO Robot. I suppose what we're seeing is with the advancement of robotics at the moment, things that we never thought are possible are becoming possible, and we've got really innovative ways to kind of differentiate therapies and really motivate patients to achieve, goals that might not have been as easily achievable.
Mm-hmm.
I'd really urge them, I guess, to start looking into some of this technology, because I think not just robotics, but technology in general, the way it's advancing is really providing, really liberating people with significant physical disabilities or rehab needs.
Yes, the problem that clinicians always talk about is that there's so much to keep up to date on and so much reading to do professionally. And then on the other side of the coin, lots of the people I talk to have great and innovative products that they want to get into the clinician's hands, and they always say clinicians are so hard to access, it's so difficult and expensive to get up, an awareness message in front of them. So today we'll see if we can help a little bit with the Brainary. Jonathan, my favourite question in every interview is about misconceptions, and there are misconceptions in every field and in every activity. What's the misconceptions amongst your customers and clients and maybe patients and users that drives you nuts and keeps you awake at night?
Well, I suppose firstly, we're pretty lucky at the Brainary in that we've got some pretty amazing technology, so it doesn't generally keep me up at night. However, I suppose there are a few small things. I suppose that the one thing that I'd probably talk about is with the NAO Robot in particular, because a lot of people firstly aren't aware of how advanced robotic technology is becoming and also have not been exposed to it before. When we're demonstrating the robot, it takes people quite a long time to get their head around what is possible. And in some respects, it's really only limited by your imagination as to how you could apply this technology and really provide benefits to patients. But I suppose one of the frustrating elements is actually conveying that benefit and having people think outside the square and work out how they could use this and how it really can improve the services that they currently offer. And I suppose one element in particular is this robot having such a human form, and when you see it in action, you'll notice that it moves a bit like a person, and it sways from side to side, and it looks like it breathes, and it makes you really think of it as an entity in itself. We find that people project human-like, conceptions of memory and emotion on the robot, when at the end of the day it is a machine, and there is programming behind it. So really conveying to people that if they want the robot to do a specific thing, that it does need to be programmed in that way. I think that's a key message.
So maybe you need a demonstration robot that is the nasty nanny that misbehaves and shouts at people or something. So they get that idea. It's so easy though to do that process of putting personality onto machines. My mother has I guess you'd call it a toy cat or a teddy bear cat that breathes. It has a battery in it and it inhales and exhales and it's curled up and looks like it's asleep. And because it has that human-like characteristic of breathing, so many people attribute it with human-like or with cat-like characteristics. They want to pat it and they want to stroke it and so on and so forth because it looks like it's alive. So I can certainly understand how you would do that with a robot that looks like it's a person.
Yeah. And on the flip side, I think it's also one of the main attractions and reasons why this product is so beneficial as well, because people do develop a relationship with it and are really drawn to interact with it. And I think that's one of the important things, particularly with children. It can really, stimulate children to do things that a clinician would really have trouble doing themselves.
Yeah, it's a fascinating field of research, and it's nice to know that it's available. And we should just mention in closing, Jonathan, because we are running out of time, how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, so people can contact us via our website. We've got an online contact form. It's Brainary, spelled brain as in head, ARY, interactive.com. And they're welcome to go on there and check out our products. Alternatively, they can give us a call at our office. We're happy to talk to you at any time. And our phone number is 0352981176. And that's in Australia, so you might need the +61 at the start if you're internationally based.
I'll just give that website again because I'm always getting into trouble with listeners for not giving enough warning. They don't have their pencils ready. So fair warning, listeners, it's www.brainaryinteractive.com, and that's one word spelled BRAINARYINTERACTIVE, brainaryinteractive.com. My guest this morning has been Jonathan Kingsley, Sales and Marketing Manager at the Brainary, and he's been talking about a range of products, and I'm just going to mention them because some of them do have funny spelling. The NAO Robot, spelled NAO Robot, also Tapit, spelled TAPIT, and iTech, spelled EYETECH. If you're interested in any of those, head off to the website, have a look. By all means, get in touch with Jonathan. Jonathan, it's been a pleasure talking with you this morning. I do appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, Wayne. I appreciate you having me on the show.
My pleasure. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio with Wayne Bucklar, and I've been in conversation with Jonathan Kingsley, as I mentioned, from the Brainary. The good news is, if you've missed our chat, we have a transcript on our website. You can also hear the interview again. We have a sound archive at both YouTube and SoundCloud. All of those resources are available at the Health Professional Radio website at www.hpr.fm. You're listening to Health Professional Radio. My name's Wayne Bucklar.